But Dr. Lee, if I may ask this question of you, the NPP clearly has lost. And people will say that the margin they lost by is really huge. Now, we have often said this, that if the Ashanti region, people in the Ashanti region step out in the numbers to vote and vote well, their voter turnout always beats that of the national turnout and has, a reflection on victory. Based on what we have right now, where the NPP has lost, and of course we know that the presidential candidate for the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has considered defeat, what should be their strategy? What should they be doing right now, especially in the Ashanti region? I ask this because they spent 15 straight days in the Ashanti region, kept going to and fro, coming back to the Ashanti region. It didn't seem to work. They chose a running mate in Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. Again, it didn't seem to work. How should they take this results? What should they do going forward?
Yes, thank you. Ashanti region is indeed a very significant space for the fortunes of the MPP in particular. And to some extent, despite the fact that it doesn't come in real terms, the NDC know that when they make a certain percentage, it also impacts on their victory. But for MPP in particular, I think the odds were against the party leading to this 2024 elections in many facets. The first one was the performance of the government in general. Generally, Ashanti region did not feel that the government did enough for the region to whip up their enthusiasm to give them another mandate. The second one was the candidate. The man Bawumia came and gave Ghanaians a lot of hope that he was capable of doing. But along the line, the excuse was that because he was not the driver and just the mate, he could not do enough. But when he was making the promises, you were making the promises as a mate who had what it takes to
deliver,
help the government, that you were going to be an integral part to deliver. And since that one did not materialize, I think he didn't come out as a candidate who will whip up enthusiasm among the youth in Ashanti region to go and then vote. So the odds against the party were too many. So I think they should strategize. The reason why, let me just tie this into why I felt even before these elections that 2028 is going to be more crucial and more competitive, more difficult for all of us as a nation than this one. This one was pretty much straightforward because the government had performed woefully and Ghana needed a change. Leading up to the next elections, we are talking about two different dynamics. For the NDC, they have not actually outwardly prepared anybody to take over from Mahama, who is constitutionally mandated to do only one term because he has already done the other in the previous regime. So that is going to be a contest, if it is not handled well, can lead to internal situations that may not augur well for the fortunes of the party. For the MPP too, we all know the circumstances that characterized the primaries, the presidential primaries, and then Bawumia eventually won. A lot of people doesn't see a straightforward endorsement of Bawumia in the next elections. And they are going to look at the general nationwide scenario and how they can get a candidate a winnable candidate, somebody who will sell to the conscience of the whole Ghanaians in general, but the Ashanti region in particular, because MPP usually when they are winning, they don't win with so many regions. They need the two major regions, Eastern and Ashanti region, to coming out to vote in their numbers. When they come out to vote in their numbers, it helps the fortunes of the party. So they need a candidate who will be appealing to these two regions, who will whip up enthusiasm among the populace in these two regions to come and vote. So that is also going to be very, very crucial. So you are looking at Napo, who was brought in to be vice to Dr. Bawumia in these elections, and then you ask yourself whether going forward he stands the chance of being a credible candidate, not to be vice again, but probably lead the party, because he has the background from where the World Bank of the party is. And then if you ask me, I have my reservations about it. So if it is not Napo, who else can come out and then maybe help us get the Ashanti region to come out in their numbers to vote? Not just the Ashanti region, but also hip-hop enthusiasm among other people in other regions. So because these questions are unanswered, it is very difficult for any of the political parties to see a clear path into the future, particularly in the 2028 elections. So it makes it quite crucial, and it all boils down to decision making. And if you check the performance of the NDC in this election, boils down to how well the party were able to get their decisions right. And that's why I commended Asidun Ketia, who is the chairman of the party, because there were so many controversial decisions. And if the outcome is like this, then it means that apart from the fact that the government didn't perform well, they got their decisions right and took advantage of the situation, and then have overwhelmingly won in both presidential and then parliamentary elections.
But so you talked about a winnable candidate when you mentioned the NPP. Is that to say that going into 2028, the presidential candidate they had in Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia should be looked at again? Is he not a winnable candidate?
To a very large extent, ordinarily, I think he's the one who have been sold by the party very much. And one of the arguments that even brought him for the 2024 contest was the fact that because he was vice to Nanado, he was known, he was very popular in 2016 in particular. Why do we now have to get a new person? Because Mahama is a candidate who have been president, vice president before. So if you pitch him against somebody who is relatively very unknown, that is going to put the NPP in a very disadvantageous position. So it was one of the reasons why he was endorsed for the 2024 elections. But you see, his performance in these elections may make the NPP rethink that decision and probably think that, yes, it may not just be about how we have sold the candidate, how the candidate is known in Ghana. We have to also look at some of the very petty dynamics, national dynamics, and then put out a candidate maybe early enough, sell him, because if the candidate is good enough to meet the tastes of what usually bring our supporters to vote, I think we can sell him well enough to turn our fortunes, because the popularity of Dr. Bawumia did not work for us in the previous election. So why do we go about selling the same argument in the next one?
But Prof, is it just about the popularity of a candidate, or it goes beyond that? I mean, this time around, people are being real. Now, we had the vice president once say that the economy is what you feel in your pocket. So yes, you could be one of our own. Yes, you could have done, the digitalization and all that. But this time around, let's look at our reality.
Yes.
And then vote. Is that what happened now?
Yes. Thank you once again. At this point, I think I will go differently from what Doc has already said, in the sense that this election that we've gone through, I think it went beyond the person of Bawumia, the candidate. It is a kind of, it is about the government, the performance of the government. The government had performed very poorly. The economy, as we are all emphasizing, has been very bad. And in addition to this, the government didn't seem to care about the concerns of Ghanaians. take the issue of the environment. People thought that, no, you have to do something different. And in fact, they came to power on the back of using the environment as some of the issues they were coming to tackle. But Akufo-Addo came, take the issue of corruption. People voted in 2020, especially 2016, massively for Akufo-Addo because they thought this guy can really deal with this canker. He came and it didn't look like that. So I think the performance, and look at the way it has swept through the whole country. This is something that goes beyond Bawumia. I think rather that, I would say that, but for Bawumia, the situation maybe could have been even worse off. Because notwithstanding the challenges, of course, some people thought within the party that Bawumia has not been a known party member for that long. Yes, that is there. But what Bawumia brought to the campaign was his personal integrity, something that people felt that, no, this guy has this integrity thing that we can go with. And therefore, the election we just went through, it's not about Bawumia per se. It is about, it is a verdict on the government and not Bawumia.
Let me ask this question. When Dr. Bawumia addressed the considered, defeat in this year's elections, one of the key things that I observed was that Dr. Opoku Prempeh Napo, as he's affectionately called, was not there. Then I asked myself, if, let's say, hypothetically, if the NPP had won and he was going to give a victory speech, will Napo have been there? Is that communicating something to us? Listen, you were my running mate. We went into a battle. The outcome has not been as what we expected. I'm going to give a concession speech or address. Let's go. He was not there. Is that a big deal or to you? It's not? First
of all, let me say that what Bawumia did has been a very, very smart move. And what he did had saved the country from a very big situation that would have developed. And linking that to the question of the absence of Napo at that event, I think that some individuals in the MPP may even have disagreed with Bawumia, especially at the time he went. Some may have seen that, or would have thought that, no, you should have waited a little bit more.
Waited for what? And this is a man who says
everything.
He's into digitalization. His men on the grounds have worked.
Everything.
On the evening when we were here, I think it was around 2 a.m., when we went to the party's communications directorate and spoke to our correspondent on the ground, the office was virtually empty.
You see, the NPP had, let me say that, maybe they had expected something to happen in order that they would win at all cost.
Are you talking about maybe some rigging, some stealing? I just want to be clear.
I will not be that forthright, but I believe that they felt that, look, even though we can see what is happening, there could be some ways to win. This is what I felt. And for that matter, there will be people, and if you look at somebody like Napo, the kind of person he presents, I believe he disagreed with the vice president
coming out at that time.
Coming out
concede.
at that time. I think so. Because, you know, they knew what they really were expecting.
No, but again, for me, from where I'm sitting, and, you know, like Dr. Ali, if I may come to you with the same kind of question, but let me paint a different scenario here. When we spoke to our correspondent on the ground, my colleague Kenneth JC, and you were here with us, you saw their office. There was no activity. What else could you expect from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia than to come and say, well, we have done some kind of checks, and he said it in his concession speech. Based on what we have gathered so far, there was no way that we're going to win. So I concede, and he congratulated, you know, the president-elect. Do you agree with Professor Akote when he says that he thinks that, well, he had come to, you know, concede too early?
Yeah, I think Prof was just making the point that some party members might have felt he came too early. Some party members might have felt, yeah, but you see, Prof, if you listened and analyzed Bawumia's address well, he did not just say he was conceding defeat. He also added that they have overwhelmingly won by the data. It is when you are close that things can turn around. But from the data, he said for winning overwhelmingly. So the difference was too wide that
for you to.
It is almost impossible for anything different to happen.
Yeah.
So the more you waste time in doing the needful, the more you are jeopardizing the very precious peace and political serenity that we have enjoyed. That the kind of reputation that we have earned globally was at stake. And then it also adds up to his own reputation going into the future. And you know, as a politician, one of the greatest things you should learn to do is to how to accept defeat.
Exactly.
Accept defeat with good emotions, good temperament, and then you wait to see the next elections.
So based on what you just said, how smart was that concession speech or address that he gave yesterday morning?
Extremely. You know, I already, immediately I got here, I was commending him for what he has done, and particularly because of the fact that, like Prof was saying, this may not be a very popular decision within the party. And that is where you show leadership. You know, as a leader, sometimes you overlook consensus and do the most pressing thing to do at a particular point in time. And that is something that I have given it to Bawumia, that it's one of his greatest shots. You know, I as a person, I admire his emotional stability in his career as a politician. And he has shown that even within the MPP ranks, how he came out to lead the party. People were complaining. But if you were not doing this, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? But this man maintained his composure. And even when everybody was predicting that he was not likely to be given the nod to lead the party because of the tradition of the party, because of his own newness to the ranks of the party, he was able to emerge overwhelmingly victorious. So it adds up to one of his personal ingenuity as a politician.
So, Prof, a while ago, you made a statement that made me ask whether you were wondering or you were trying to put across that, you know, somebody was trying to rig or steal or something. And you say you don't come out openly and say that. In this year's elections, how will you say the vigilance of the NDC in this year's elections, how key would you say it is in their victory in this year's elections?
I think that vigilance in this case has really paid off. The vigilance of the NDC should be credited for having to protect what the nation has actually said. And let me say that this is a repetition of what happened in the year 2000. Almost like that. Remember, in the year 2000, Ghana was trying to move away from the military PNDC, kind of thing. And people didn't believe that it was going to be possible. And so, when that time came, the NPP realized that, looking at the national mood, people would want a change. But then we need to do something extraordinary in order to protect whatever Ghanaians' decisions that they were going to make. And one of the things they did was to make sure they policed this same ballot box and the polling stations. In fact, in the Volta region, including the OT region, I was part of it, that we bussed people from Accra, polling agents from Accra, in order to go and protect the ballots. Remember, at the same time, they deployed, the NDC government deployed a lot of the military all across the region. Okay? They were deployed at the various polling stations. But notwithstanding this, the MPP was so determined that, because remember, at that time, the MPP didn't believe even the polling agents of their own polling agents in the Volta region. That is how come I took 2 bus loads of polling agents from Accra, Kufuor bus, 2 bus loads for Biakoye and Buem. And this is the same thing that I think NDC has also done.
So let me come to you, Dr. Ali. The NPP came to the Ashanti region and they campaigned vigorously. It didn't seem to work. They chose a running mate from the Ashanti region. Again, it didn't seem to work. What next should they do? Should they tour the region and still engage with the people here in the region and say, yeah, we thank you for what you did? So, what should they be doing at this point in time?
As a last resort strategy, the MPP felt like, yes, we have disappointed you, but you see, we are still the better of the 2 evils. So come out and vote for us. And it is better, it is better you vote for us than to allow power to go to the opposing part. It still did not work. The bottom line, the lesson going forward is that everything that you want from the electorates, it boils down to that single thing, governance, how you are able to govern well. You see, if you implement policies that affect the people positively, you will not have last-minute political gimmicks to change your fortunes during elections. Honestly, I heard people speak about the NDC going to Accra to do their last rally and the MPP also going to Accra to do their last rally. I don't think it is those last rallies that affected the electoral outcomes of these elections. Or I don't think it is the many days that NDC spent in Ashanti region or MPP spent in Ashanti region that affected the electoral outcomes of the 2 parties. I think that, you see, rather than going to undertake projects in the last year or sometimes even few days before elections, when you are in power, right from the first day, govern well, implement the policies that have positive impacts on the general well-being of the people.
So what you say,
make it less stressful.
Forgive me, Doc. I just want to ask this question. So you're saying that even the last-minute commissioning of projects, we had some in the Ashanti region, some, Agenda 111 projects where the president himself came down and commissioned. You think that, the people do not appreciate it?
That is too simplistic. That is overly simplistic. And this is a tactic or gimmick that political parties have done over the years, both the NDC and MPP. And then Ghanaians have become used to the fact that in the last year of a regime, they will come and then sometimes initiate projects. Even if you vote for that same party, they may not even continue to do it until the other election is coming. So I think it is something that is a strategy that the political parties should know by now, that it is not going to work anymore. This is something you have benefited from in the past. This is something that we have become so used to as citizens in Ghana now. And if, like I said, if you want to make political gains during elections, please, right from the beginning of your tenure, implement policies that have the potential to better the lives of the citizenry. And when it's getting to the elections, you wouldn't have much to do or much to say. After Kufuor's first term, from 2000 to 2004, there was not much to do to win the next elections. And if you have time, the 2008 elections, but for internal political wranglings among the NPP, it would have been the first time that a party will break the 8. And if I look at the trend, you know, governments have now flipped to 3 or 4 times. If you ask me, if I look at all the trends, so the first one was in 2000, the second one was in 2008, the third one was in 2016, and then now, so this is about the fourth one. I think the most realistic time to have maintained a government beyond the 8 years was in 2008 after the Kufuor's regime. But for internal distance, he implemented projects that affected the citizens better than the last minute thing that the various governments have been doing after that time that I'm talking about, after 2008.
So let's look at, you know, that of the NDC, because I asked, you know, how the MPP should go about things based upon their losses. You mentioned that, listen, going into 2020, they need to have a winnable candidate. That's how come I asked about Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and all that. From where you sit, do you think that Kennedy Japong and, you know, Matthew Opoku Prempeh doctor would want to rear their heads, you know, into 2028?
You know, they are going into opposition. We are not likely to have as many people as we had in the previous primaries. But the more obvious people are those who contested Bawumia and are still around and will still have the age, will still have the resources, even in opposition, to come up. And one person that stands very conspicuous in my mind is Kennedy Japong. I think he will have the resources. He has the zeal, he has the enthusiasm to come back. He may be thinking that his chances, and if you look at his performance in the previous one, I think he has the chance to come. Alan Cham, I think if he was still within the ranks of the party, but where he finds himself now, it will be very difficult to come back. I fancy so much less Matthew Opoku Prempeh, because when he was even made the vice president, I did not see...
You mean the running mate?
The running mate, sorry. When he was made the running mate of the current vice president, I did not foresee him making that impact that Bawumia himself did for Akufo-Addo in 2016. So Matthew Opoku Prempeh may come, and but I see other people from Ashanti coming up and then giving him a much better competition for the Ashanti votes.
Prof, you're a governance expert. Doesn't continuity help? So looking at what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did for the, you know, NPP tickets that brought them into power in 2016, 2020, a lot of things he did, the addresses to the nation, talking about the economy and all that. Wouldn't it be prudent enough for him to be allowed to put his foot forward again in 2028?
Yes, that is what the MPP will benefit from most. What doctor is saying is true. There is going to be other competitors. But looking at the person of the vice president, who he is, his character, the way people respect him for his integrity, and then also the way he understands issues that Ghanaians or issues that are of interest to Ghanaians, I would say that the best bet for the MPP going forward should be Dr. Bawumia. Even though I know that he is going to get a lot of competition, especially from Honorable Kennedy Ajapong, because, look, those guys are going to point to this result to make their case that, you see, you didn't vote for us, look at it. But that will be very, very, very simplistic, okay? But then they are going to use that a lot against Dr. Bawumia. But then on the issue of Napo, it's unfortunate he had not brought anything. For me, I would say so. He had not brought anything.
Somebody just sent a message saying that he was a bad choice, wrong choice. You agree?
Very, very bad choice, honestly. You saw the noise, the hula baloo that greeted his nomination or choice or whatever. His choice was a very bad one for the MPP. In fact, of course, even if they were going to come out with somebody from Ashanti, there were other guys in Ashanti, like the education minister, and people from Ashanti. Even Kwamina Japan and all of these guys were there that they should have focused on. But you know, in these parties, sometimes those who make the most noise are thought to be the guys. These are people who can march on. But you see, Ghana is growing. Ghana is becoming more and more rational as a nation.
More discerning.
More discerning, more knowledgeable, and they have seen a lot already of such people.
I would want for us to stay a while longer with the NPP.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something that has brought a question on my mind. So let's move to the NDC briefly. In 2028, John Mahama definitely is going to do only one term.
Yeah.
Should Jane be prepared for 2028?
For me, I will still say that yes, if they want to have it easy, and also based on the performance of their government, this 4 years government, and the way she will carry herself, if she will move on this way, I will believe that she should be their best bet. Because as of now, it is not clear. You cannot see anyone, though they should forgive me. I believe that people in the party, some of them may not be happy I'm saying this, but you see, all the time you should see somebody who is like well prepared ahead of time. But you cannot see that at the moment. And also looking at where she is coming from, the central region being one of the areas that receives a lot of attention in Ghanaian politics, I would advise that, left to me alone, the woman, the professor, should be prepared towards that.
Would you say that Ghanaians, or Ghana for that matter, is prepared for a female president?
It depends on the way she carries herself, the way she performs. For me, let me say this. Her acceptance speech, the acceptance speech that she gave far back then when she was nominated, or he was
reappointed, but
yes, he was appointed. I gave a lot of respect to that lady. She really, really delivered. You could never have compared her delivery to Napo's delivery. They are never comparable. And I believe that, you see, one thing about those of us in academia is that we may not come out to be very loud, as some of them think that if you are a politician, you should be. But that is not the way to
How
go.
would you respond to people who just say that those were scripts? Somebody can sit down and script something for somebody to read, and does not mean that person will be able to deliver given the opportunity.
That if the person...
You said a delivery. And
Yeah.
I'm saying that it could be that somebody could say it was scripted and it was delivered perfectly.
If the person... I didn't see the lady as reading from anywhere.
The teleprompters were there.
Sorry?
The teleprompters were there.
It was still with her.
The teleprompters were there. You go ahead, make your point.
Okay. So whatever it was, the way she delivered could convince anybody that the person knows what she is talking about.
I'll come back to you because I said we're not done with that of the MPP. But Doc, I want you to have a bite at this very one. I mean, he says, well, it will be the best decision for the NDC. Do you agree with him? And aside from that, if you agree, will you say that Ghanaians are ready for a female president as well?
Yes, it is quite early for us as analysts to preempt something very concrete at this moment for the NDC. But I am pretty sure that the NDC going into the 2024 elections already had an eye on the next one because the choice of a vice president came in prominently and should reflect what they should do going into the future. It's not about female or male. I think it's about performance. In terms of female and male, Ghanaians may want to experience a new thing. So that is a plus. If any political party has a very credible female candidate. So what is left for Professor Jane Opoku to do is to be an impactful vice president. You know, honestly, Bawumia came out in 2016 as somebody who was very, very, very different from all the vice presidents we have had before him. He came in as the competent hand for the political party to drive it to correct the incompetencies, the seemingly and alleged incompetencies of the previous regime. So he came with a lot of credibility in terms of competence. So people were expecting him. So he virtually spearheaded the 2016 MPP victory. People were expecting those competent hands to reflect in the governance during Nana Ado's era. And it was not seen. And the government is punished. If Nana Jane wants a bite into leading the party, she must come out clearly, very explicitly, as a competent hand, not just a female, a competent hand. Let us see that because of her, Ghana have seen this progress. Other than that, I think the NDC has plans beyond just presenting a female candidate. There have been people, there are people who have had this ambition for more than a decade now, who have prepared themselves for more than a decade now for a transition from the Mahama to another candidate. So it will not be about a female president, it will be about competence.
So in a few minutes, let's wrap up on what I said earlier, because I mentioned I wanted us to take a look again at a few things about the NPP. And I asked you, Dr. Nyaba, that what should they be doing going forward? Yes, they have lost. But should they come back to the Ashanti region and engage with the electorate, maybe say sorry for some wrongs they did, and then make some assurances to the people here, knowing very well how key the Ashanti region is. Because again, if we read posts by, Eugene Boachi Entry, the Subing MP, that they lost the elections in 2022 thereabout. Because at the time when they were saying that the finance minister should go, the president was not listening, the president, blah, blah. You know the story. We know candidate Japan himself, when he was also trying to win the flag bearership, come on the things he said and said he had also lost it some years ago and all that. How can they, as a party, unify themselves, become one, fix the cracks or differences that there might be going forward? How should they do this?
I think it is not merely coincidental that after every 8 years, there is a turnover. There is a kind of complacency that sets into every regime, especially after the first term, the first 4 years. And that is what has affected the NPP. I think sometimes it is only natural by the way they behave, both the NDC and the NPP, that they get the opportunity to take a backstage. And if you look at the way NDC prepared for these elections, you will notice that they analyzed their 2020 fortunes, and they had a time because they were in opposition. They had a space because they were in opposition. They put their house together, took very major decisions, and then it brought them where they are now. This is an opportunity for the MPP, and it is good for all Ghanaians. That if you look at the trajectory, assuming they had another opportunity, I tell you, it would have been worse for the party and even Ghana as a whole. Okay. So it's a time that they should do a radical reorientation backstage, clean their house, think through their candidates for both parliamentary and then the presidential elections in the next one. And then, because Ghana needs a credible opposition, Ghana needs somebody who, a political party that is ready enough to take over the ranks of power when the ruling government is not doing well. So we hope that because they are not in government now, the seeming arrogance that characterized their second term will not be there, because they will be humbled by the results of these elections. They will go back to the...
Prof, we have to take a break, but I just want to give you 1 minute, and then we'll go on that break. So, Prof, the question for you is, our constitution talks about the fact that, governance is a continuum. So if a particular government starts a project, you come and you continue it. The direct principle of state policy. There are some projects that this administration has begun. With this new government coming in, led by John Dramani Mahama, what are expectations on those? Because I'm asking this because within this region, they say one hospital has not still been commissioned, Afra has not been commissioned. There are some other projects that was begun by the previous administration that was not completed, was not commissioned. So in this administration that is coming, there are some other projects that have begun. What are your expectations of this government about those projects that have begun by the outgoing government?
All right, thank you very much. I think that listening to candidate Mahama, they have made it clear that they were coming to continue with most of these projects. They were not going to behave like in the past when a new government take over, they forget about all the previous projects. But then also for free SHS, which has become one of the main contentious issues, I think they have also made it clear that they are not out here to cancel it. But then they will have to work out about the challenges. Free SHS really had a lot of challenges, which I think that they will have to work to fix. And then maybe they will leave, he will leave Ghana with a very good free SHS system, devoid of some of these challenges we've gone through.
All right, so we say a big thank you to you, Dr. Ali Nyamba. He is with the History and Political Studies Department, KNUST, for being with us since 4 a.m. Professor Martin Akote is a rector for the Valley View University. He is also a governance expert. Thanks very much for being with us as well since 4. To my co-anchor man, Eugene Osei-Tutu, who's still right here with me, I say thank you to you. And to our audience, thanks very much for making time with us. We're now taking a break. And if we get the opportunity, we'll come back to you with more, analysis here from Studio 995.